the strength of thy Holy Spirit, grant us the willingness to place service above personal gain and to respect our obligations of justice in our positions as members of the Council of the Town of Essex.
Welcome, everyone. I'll call the meeting to order now, and we have two council members absent this evening. Councillor Vokes is away on family sick problem, and Councillor Scott is at a retreat. Yep. Are there any conflicts of interest amongst the council members this evening? Okay, thank you. Looking for the adoption of the published agenda for Monday, December the 2nd, regular council meeting. Councillor Bowman, Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carried. The adoption of minutes for Monday, November 18th, 2013, regular council meeting. Councillor Bowman, or Baker, and Councillor Bowman. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Consideration of report meeting November 11th, 2013. What's wrong in here? Deputy Mayor Malash. Seconded by Councillor Baker. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Consideration of report meeting November 11th, 2013. Regards to Campbell Side Road drain. Councillor Bundy, Councillor Baker, any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. November the 18th, 2013, special council meeting to discuss the Hero Daycare. Deputy Mayor Malash, Councillor Bowman, any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. November the 18th, special council meeting 2013. Animal care and control bylaw. Councillor Baker. Councillor Bowman, any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. November 18, 2013, special council meeting with regards to the holidays. Deputy Mayor Malash, Councillor Bowman. Questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Our first public presentation this evening is the Kingsville Historical Park Museum. Catherine Gunning, Treasurer and Board Member. Mrs. Gunning, welcome. I'm going to bring your right-hand man with you. Yep, you just have to, I think it's all right.
Can I have assistance on how to get to it?
If you click on the presentation on the desktop, I believe it's the top one. No.
Oh, I see it now.
Let's try this one here. Sorry. Is it PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Mayor McDermott, Deputy Mayor Malash, councillors and administration, I thank you for the opportunity to be before council this evening. Kingsville Historical Park, Charlie Campbell Memorial Military Museum. Our mandate is not just military, although 95% of our focus is military. We also have the Kingsville Restored Range Light on the grounds. If you have never been a visitor, this is just a little taste of a wonderful museum that is located in Kingsville, but serves Essex County, Windsor, and beyond. Now, I know your meeting prior to this went a little bit longer than expected. We had brought a number of artifacts for you to take a look at. One thing that I'd like to bring to your attention, we have a framed list of the Essex Honor Roll from World War I. So that's one of the items that is in our museum, as well as we brought a binder, which is probably one of about 25 that have at least some information about the Essex veterans. So it is a museum for the whole area. Chapter 1, the museum beginning. In 1987, volunteers, mostly Legion members who had a number of their own military artifacts, placed everything into a donated transport truck called the Mobile Museum and started touring local schools and attending special events. The trailer was retired in 2004. In 1993, Kingsville Historical Park incorporated as a registered nonprofit charity, and volunteers made plans for the construction of a permanent building. Construction. From 1997 to 1999, volunteers worked on the building, with all the work being done by the volunteers with the exception of one trades company. We had no volunteer that could lay block. This was the old Conklin lumber site owned by the Legion. Construction was financed by fundraising and donations. Grand opening 2000. Although the museum was opened in the fall of 1999, the grand opening was held August the 12th, 2000, a major accomplishment by a group of volunteers and supporters. This is the foyer of our museum and other noteworthy items in the foyer: a logbook of the Essex Scottish Regiment war years 1944 to 1945, a set of bagpipes, artifacts of the Essex Scottish, now the Essex Kent Scottish, and a very large oil painting depicting the beach at Dieppe. Freedom, remembering the price. This is the first major display you see coming into the museum proper. The following 3 slides are examples of only a few of our displays. The Army, we have artifacts from the early militia, Boer War, World War I, World War II, Korea, Afghanistan, United Nations, and with sections representing the Army, Air Force, Navy, as well as large weapons display and a weapons vault. In one of these display cases is actually some of the artifacts of one gentleman, Captain McCallum, who served in World War I and World War II. We have his World War I uniform, as well as his medals, and as well as his World War II uniform. That's just an example of the extent we have in our museum. Displays: the Navy, the Army, Air Force, Korea, NATO. I'll give you a moment to read this quote. This is a quote from one of the veterans who helped to establish this museum. It was a dream of his, and he passed away before the grand opening. Every year, Canadians recognize November the 11th, Remembrance Day, to pause and reflect on those who served their country during conflicts. As our museum is filled with militaria, those that volunteer and visit the museum are reminded every day of the veterans' contributions to this country. Museum was finished, or so we thought. One chapter completed, but there was a great deal more work to be done. Chapter 2, the changes and the future. Chapter 2, leasing and not owning the property of the museum was a concern. We approached the Legion, and an agreement was completed with the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 188, and we purchased the property in March 2011. I would ask you to take note of these numbers. Since 2009, volunteers working many hours and are now close to completing a database, inputting the items we have now, but we are always receiving additional items. This past month, we received a World War I medal. In fact, in 2013, we have received over 280 items. This Access database was developed by a student with computer knowledge and is unique to our museum as a result of what information we require to access our artifacts and documents. We received a grant through Community Futures Development Corporation for wages and supplies. He started the input and volunteers have continued this project. All items that were in storage are now in proper archival containers and on the database. The location of all the items, both in storage and on display, is noted, as well as the value for purposes of the insurance company. A future job, which will require years to complete, is photographing all our items for documentation and research. Not all the items in storage have had a complete cleaning and restoration. That is still to be done. Advertised hours were very limited, and while we were working on the database, we had informal hours and additional signage stating the museum was open. These informal hours were from 9 to 4 through the week and 12 to 4 on the weekends. We had a great deal more visitors, hearing most often the comment, "We didn't know this museum was here." We really could not advertise because of the limited hours.
I hate to inform you, Catherine, but your 5 minutes is up, plus a little bit, so if you could just summarize, wrap it up, please.
I can. I did ask for a little bit of additional time,
Oh, did you?
and I thought I had received it, but I will continue as quickly as I can.
Mr. Baker? Sure. Okay, sure. Seconder? At time, Sherry, all in favor? Continue.
Thank you very much. So can I complete the whole
Go ahead.
presentation?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll hurry it up. This brought us to the crossroads, and some decisions were made. I was able to get a 1/3 federal grant to make the improvements to the building, efficiency and accessibility. This has been done, and the museum is in very good shape for the future, but we as volunteers could not offer the hours that would be required for the public to visit the museum and to complete the photography and research. I guess this is a self-portrait. I am the volunteer treasurer for the past 12 years, and and having been self-employed for 25 years and retired for 19 years, I know how to stretch the dollars. In most volunteer organizations, stretching the dollar is a fine art of financial wizardry. It is not easy, but volunteers follow a strict budget and prioritize. We also have our books audited by an accounting firm to provide structure and guidance. Consistent revenue is a grant from the town of Kingsville for the property taxes, a heritage operating grant of $1,545 a year. All the rest of our revenue is from donations and fundraising, particularly bingo funds. This past year, we received a principal amount from an estate that is now an endowment fund, and at the present time with low interest, return is minimal. We have an 11-day yard sale held in the museum, receiving items throughout the year, and it takes a full 3 weeks in preparation, 11 days of the yard sale, and a week putting everything back in order. But every year it is very successful with a minimal expenses for advertising and pizza for the volunteers. We will be having our 4th auction in the fall of 2014. We do put fun in the fundraising. This event is enjoyed by all who attend. Items are donated, as well as the room at the Kingsville Legion. Again, good returns for very little expense. Our major source of revenue is return from bingos held at the Paradise Bingo Hall, worked by volunteers. This return is enough to cover approximately 95% of our operating expenses. I mention these changes, owning the property, fundraising events, to illustrate the determination of the volunteers to provide an excellent military museum of high caliber and one that is recognized as such. In October, Passing the Torch, a committee of volunteers from across the county held their event using our museum as part of their venue. Over 665 students and adults from Essex County and Windsor toured our museum over a 3-day period. In the past 2 years, we've had over 5,000 people come to our museum, individuals, majority from Kingsville. then Essex, then Leamington. A large number of school groups from Essex County and Windsor. We've also had visitors from each and every community in the county, as well as 4 additional provinces: British Columbia, Nova Scotia, Manitoba, and Alberta. We've had visitors from the following U.S. states: Virginia, Maryland, Michigan, New York, Ohio, Arizona, and Tennessee. Chapter 3, when this dream began, it was always expected to be in the hands of volunteers, but it is an amazing museum, and with the loss of those who were directly knowledgeable about Canadian conflicts, the responsibilities of the volunteers have multiplied. As a recognized museum and a member of the Ontario Museum Association and an organization of Military Museums of Canada, policies have to be established and met. Even our Constitution has been rewritten because of the changes in the Non-Profit Corporations Act, both provincially and federally. We now have an operating bylaw. The responsibility of the weapons and security of the building and artifacts is a requirement that does intimidate some volunteers. Therefore, a major decision had to be made by the Operations Committee and our Board of Directors. We need to hire staff, and along with the volunteers, hours can be extended, and we can start to let the country know about the outstanding military museum in Essex County. In preparation for this decision, as a volunteer treasurer, I started to look at our other financial opportunities. And speaking with the Trillium representatives, an application would require community financial support. Most of the opportunities of other grants to service the arts, culture, and heritage sector have a requirement of a full-time equivalent staff. Therefore, I am appearing and appealing before 3 municipal councils for funding to accomplish the funding. To receive a financial donation to cover a 3-year period to account for the community financial support requirement for a grant as application for a part-time staff. Secondly, we wish to take a portion of this financial donation, as well as Kingsville Historical Park funds, to hire a second part-time staff. When this is accomplished, we will have the full-time equivalent for other grant applications. You see the amounts. One lady, a war bride who visited our museum, remarked to me as I explained what we hope to do, and I quote, "Oh my, as a woman of my generation, $10,000 is a great deal of money." As an organization who collected Zare's tapes, requested donations of Canadian Tire money, and collect pennies plus metal salvage to increase our revenue account, as well as other fundraising events, we are certainly aware that $10,000 is a great deal of money. This museum and our volunteers offer a great service not only to the town of Kingsville, but to our surrounding communities. We respectfully request consideration for the financial grant of $10,000. If we are not successful with the Trillium grant application, as a treasurer, I will try to find other avenues to leverage this donation, and these monies received for a 3-year period will be earmarked for part-time staff. Our need for staff is great. This will be the final sheet of my presentation. As a former Kingsville Municipal Councillor, I am very aware of the difficult budgeting process and the underlying question, how can we benefit our residents? It is a very difficult challenge for those elected representatives. Although Kingsville Historical Park is located in Kingsville, because of our content, it is not just a Kingsville museum. It is a museum for the area communities. Your donation, as requested, will benefit the town of Essex. We have already returned benefits to the residents of Essex, primarily being a safe storage of local military items that could have possibly ended up in the landfill. These artifacts are respectfully handled and added to our database, properly stored or put on display. We have determined, even with our limited hours and no advertising, we have received a number of visitors from the town of Essex. Over the last few years, economic development and tourism is a part of the strategic plan of every municipality. We are part of the tourism and economic development base of Essex. We offer the museum as a location for Elder College. Those participating are mainly from Kingsville, Essex, and Leamington. We offer tours for all school students. Cubs, Scouts, Beavers, Brownies are regular visitors. Leamington Air Cadets and Kingsville Army Cadets, based out of those municipalities, have a number of members from the Essex, Colchester, and Harrow areas. They have an open invitation and attend our museum. For the last 2 out of 3 years, we have participated in the military muster located in Essex. We are a member of an informal association which includes the Canadian Transportation Museum and Heritage Museum, as well as John R. Park Homestead, and visitors to our museum are informed about area museums. Most visitors travel through Essex Centre, which is a benefit to your municipality. One of those that attended Passing the Torch event was an Essex resident, veteran Tom Robson, who is in the audience tonight, who has been at our museum many times, also speaking to the students. Also, we had hoped to have Mrs. Robertson, who is an Essex resident, and she is a war bride, but she felt she couldn't make it tonight. And she has donated a picture of her late husband, William Robertson, sitting on the nose of a Lancaster. Many of the local veterans are documented in our library files, as I have stated, and a large number of items of significant Essex heritage is housed in our military museum. Councillors and residents of our local municipalities are known for their respect to those who have served our country. Your donation to the museum will confirm this and take this respect to a level of awareness each and every day. This brings me to the conclusion, and for any questions you might have, and also to extend an invitation to the Council of the Town of Essex to come to our museum on the evening of Thursday, January the 16th, to meet the volunteers and have a tour at 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gunning. I have questions from Councillor Bondi.
Yay, it works. Thank you, Catherine, for coming forward. And it's finally great to see everything that you're doing at the Kingsville Museum. I have gone to one of the auctions before and had one of the the best times I've had locally in a long time. At this point, our council hasn't even looked at our 2014 budget. So with that being said, I would move that this go into budget deliberations and we take it from there, and perhaps maybe even get a report from administration saying, you know, how can we fit this into our grant system. But anyways, I want to thank you for coming, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else, Councillor? Okay.
So I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Just a
question?
Comment. Just a comment.
Yep.
To your worship. Thank you, Catherine, as well, for coming forward. I see the benefit. I mean, I know this is important for our area and our region. No source of funding through the Legion itself? Is there any source of funding through the branch or command?
Not through command, but through our local Legion, we have received considerable donations.
And can you reveal that?
Yes, $1,000 a year.
That's it. That was it. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was from the town of Kingsville.
No, the town of Kingsville grants back the property tax, and we receive $1,000 from the Legion.
Okay. And are you a not-for-profit charitable organization?
Yes, incorporated.
And so you tax receipts also
Yes.
available? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So based on that, I'll just go with the motion then, that we can look at that.
Anything further to the motion? All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you, Ms. Gunning.
Thank you.
Next delegation is Tourism Windsor Essex Peely Island, Gordon Orr, Chief Executive Officer, and Lynette Bain, Vice President, Tourism Programs and Development. Regional Tourism Update for 2013. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's good to be with you. Good evening, Your Worship, Mayor McDermott, and of course, members of Essex Town Council. My name is Gordon Orr. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Tourism Windsor Essex Peely Island, and I'm joined tonight by Lynette Bain, our Vice President of Tourism Programs and Development. We're here tonight as part of a commitment that was made to you 2 years ago when we assumed the leadership roles at Tourism Windsor Essex Peely Island. We promised that we would attend county council presentations annually, but not only at the city and the county level, but also at each town level. For example, in the last couple of weeks, we've had the pleasure of attending before appearing before the Amherstburg Town Council, County Council, Windsor City Council, Kingsville Town Council, and just most recently, Tecumseh Town Council. And we do this for a couple of reasons. First of all, we want to make sure that our elected officials are better informed on the importance of tourism as an industry, and of course, our activities designed to derive our fair share of the tourism market. And secondly, we want to provide an opportunity to you to ask any questions that you may have in the forum that is provided to us this evening as we appear before you. We were here with you last in May of 2012, at which time we released our latest edition of our visitor guide, and we delivered a PowerPoint presentation regarding our 2012 marketing plan. We will be back in the spring of the coming year to present our marketing plan, our 2014 marketing plan, and unveil our new visitor guide at that time. But this year, we thought we'd do something different. We've put together a video for you, sort of a presentation, a year in review, where we were, what we did, successes gained throughout the year, and it's a 4-minute video that we'll share with you.
During our video, we're going to highlight such things as conferences and expos we attended, events, consumer shows, launches that we were involved in, successful bids, advertising, and various partnerships. But before we show you the video, we want to remind Council that tourism is an important economic generator for our region. Our latest data indicates our annual visitation is now over 3.9 million visitors, who generate over $471 million in economic activity and help support over 18,000 jobs. 2014 looks promising. For the province of Ontario, the Ontario Tourism Marketing Partnership is forecasting growth in visitor expenditures in the different market segments: Ontarians visiting Ontario, and then Canadians visiting Ontario, and from other bordering states. From those Ontarians traveling within Ontario, the numbers will rise by 22%, and from the U.S. border market, Ontario will see a 6% growth in visitor traffic. These are positive growth forecasts, giving us every reason to be optimistic. So without further ado, Gordon, I'm going to ask you to cue up the video.
Here we go.
And we'll draw our attention to the screen.
Walking down the sidewalk, kicking my feet
So thank you very much, members of council, for your time this evening. More importantly, thank you very much for certainly investing and continuing to invest in tourism, and thank you for your support of Tourism Windsor Essex, PLA Island.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, through your worship, to Gordon and Lynette. Thank you very much for coming. Obviously, we're seeing significant growth opportunities from tourism in our region here in the county from the wineries. Are you, through them or yourselves, are you capturing any numbers from year to year in terms of where the people are coming from, whether there's some mobility within our region, or where are we seeing those numbers? Do you have anything that captured so far? And then I have another comment.
I don't have the numbers from the wineries because it's a problem of sharing, but we do have the penetration from the LCBO, and we are seeing increases in the sales. I think we were at about a 2.5%, and we are up to about approximately 4% of the local consumption of local wines through the LCBO. So that's a good barometer to be able to measure that they are further penetrating into the market. I do know from it's more qualitative, though, from actually examining the guest books and looking at who's attending the events, that we are definitely seeing an increase. The databases that we collect from the events and from the consumer shows really show how far the reach is. So when people are attending, like for example this past week, last weekend for the Taste the Season open house, I will have a report that shows what the percentage of visitation is, but for the May one, Sip into Summer, over 20% were from out of town, and that's further than about, I'm not using a 40-kilometer ratio, it's usually 80 kilometers, so past Sarnia-Lambton area. 20% were from out of town, and a good chunk of them were from the U.S. as well. So.
Thank you. So one of the things I hear quite frequently from either visitors and or even people that live in our residences, we have an issue with our GIS, our GPS, our mapping systems, because people coming from out of town. Is there any movement that you look at that you can work regionally to try to assist with this? I know you from time to time are working on some technical issues or technical development for. I know you've done something for tour motorcycle riding and cycling and things of that nature. How can we work together to come up with something that we're going to be able to get our mapping, our GPS mapping more coordinated? It's an issue within this region from town to town. I don't know if you have any approach or what we could look at doing with that.
Well, I mean, we do advertise or list what GPS coordinates are, but again, it's not a perfect system. I think a good approach would be that we have a regional county-wide signage strategy, and that's something that we've been in discussions with the CAO of the county. It's really something I think that needs to take a county-wide approach so that it is easier both for economic development and for tourism to navigate through the region. But from a Google standpoint and technical, we have worked with apps in the past and the near-field communications. I mean, that's probably one of our best strategies, is to use with a more mobile-friendly website and utilize our apps. We do have the birding app currently, which lists the wineries, which should give some assistance, and then the printed maps that we use.
Thanks. And just one last comment, I guess, and statement. And I just forgot what it was. I'm older than 19 too. With regards to, and I think you'll know this because you know the numbers better than we do, but anytime that you can stay overnight, your spending goes up 4.5 or whatever the ratio is. What we have in part of the county is a dearth in accommodations. So what kind of strategy are we working on from a regional tourism point of view that could look at some studies that could find where we could be locating and then encouraging some promotion or attraction from developers for accommodations in our region? Because that is the one next step that will make us grow significantly. Is there any strategy for that?
Well, one of the mandates for the Regional Tourism Organization is in investing in the infrastructure. So they do have a committee at the regional level that's looking at needs assessment. There isn't anything formal done yet, but as part of a workforce development committee that I'm part of, we have chatted about there needs to be an accommodation needs study done for all of our TO1 because it is a problem that doesn't only exist in Essex County. There's a lot of other rural areas within RTO1 that are experiencing the same challenges that don't have the urban centers to drive that overnight stay traffic. So we do agree that there is. It's just the challenge is we are reporting our statistics for the accommodations across the board, and some of the numbers don't look the best for the investors. Not knowing where the actual demand is not where some of those accommodations are.
And further to that, if I may, we are primarily a day trip destination. 80 to 85% of our visitation is just day trips. So that we've certainly got down pat and covered. What we are finding, though, is we're reaching out, and Lynette has been a strong advocate of this, of working with the B&B Association. So there are many B&Bs that are out there that are willing and can house and accommodate some of our visiting public. So I know usually we jump immediately right to hotel as a primary source of accommodation, but certainly working with the B&Bs, we've been able to help identify some needs in different areas and work with our hotel partners as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything further, council members? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
I think you can just make it to Leamington in time.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion to receive the report. Councillor Baker and Councillor Bowman. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Next presentation is by Paul Gravel, requesting permission to erect a real estate sign behind McDonald's at Highway number 3 on property owned by 1251-291 Inc., Ontario Inc., and 3737 Ontario Limited. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. As you just stated, I'm here representing Ken Nat to put up a real estate sign. It's a double-sided billboard along Highway 3 corridor, and just here to get permission.
Any questions from council? Deputy Mayor Meloche and Councillor Baker.
Thank you, through you, your worship. I'm going to pass this over. I want to ask our I don't know if it's Jeff Watson or Chris Nepsey that has to answer, or, okay, Heather, sorry. Heather to respond to whether this is permissible or why is this gentleman coming to council at this point in time.
Through you, your worship, this particular type of signage, which is a billboard, is not currently permitted for commercial properties. And the subject lands are designated commercial under the official plan, and they're zoned type of highway commercial under our zoning bylaw as well. So because that type of signage is not permitted, they've been required to apply for an amendment to the sign bylaw to permit this sign on the subject lands. It is a site-specific request. It would apply only to this particular sign on this particular property.
And was it administration's recommendation for them to come to council to ask permission?
Through you, your worship, yes, the applicants are required to get council's approval to make any change to the sign bylaw. And we, through staff, we've circulated the application to amend the sign bylaw to the other departments. We've also had, I've talked to the MTO representative and discovered that they did in fact get a permit from MTO on a temporary basis for the proposed sign, and I've included a copy of that permit in my report. The planning department is recommending that it not be approved. We're concerned about the setting of precedent. We do have plans to redo our sign bylaw, and we'll look at the different types of signage and where they'd be appropriate at that time. But it is up to council to make a decision on this.
Thank you, your worship. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Baker.
Thank you, your worship, to planning. So Heather, in the report, you're suggesting that your recommendation is to refuse this. Andrew, have we not already opened this situation on an individual basis with the previous applicant, and we amended that for a large sign?
Through you, your worship, council has in fact dealt with billboard signs, the two that are owned by Mr. Valente. However, it was not done through an actual amendment to the sign bylaw. There was a council resolution approving the signage, but it wasn't done through an amendment to the sign bylaw. And it was, I believe that the applicants came in and asked to be a delegation for that particular council meeting. It didn't actually go through an amendment process, which
then
we believe it should.
So we did this through a resolution last time, but now this is a different mechanism, and so you're saying if we went through a resolution, then you'd support it?
Through your worship, no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that it's a position of the planning department that billboard signage is not appropriate in every location. I'm concerned about precedent, and in this particular case, the MTO has indicated that their approval is strictly because of the fact that it's advertising the subject lands for sale, so it's located on the lands that is proposing to sell. It's advertising the lands that the sign actually sits on. However, had that been a different type of signage, or if it was advertising a different piece of property, the ministry indicated they would not be supporting it. They would classify that as an off-site sign. So this is something that we're concerned about precedent, and this isn't a serious objection, but it is something that we think billboards need to be controlled, and we want to make sure that they're in the appropriate locations. And this is a really prime location for our municipality. People see it as they approach Essex from different angles on the bypass.
So I think we've already went down that road by setting precedent already. We just use another mechanism in order to do that. And the MTO has, in their opinion, they have approved it from their point of view. So, and you're saying it's a prime location, and thus the reason I think the proponent is coming forward, because it is a prime location. They can advertise so they can get some interest. I mean, I'm sure there's other mechanism. This is not the only, and I'll ask the proponent as well. What technical reason do you see other than precedent? Beside the precedent, is there any safety issues? Is there any issues whatsoever that you're, as a planner, having a difficulty with this? Not the precedent. We'll take care of precedent from policy, I guess, but from a precedent point of view or from a technical point of view.
Through you, your worship, we didn't hear back from any departments that indicated that there was a technical problem with it. It's more to do with the appropriate locations for billboards, and this site is going to be developed at some point in time in the future, as are the other sites in the area. It's not something I have a strong objection to, but I would like to go through, we're redoing our sign bylaw in the near future, and we will determine at that point in time where the appropriate locations for billboard signs will be located.
Okay, so then hearing the fact that we are looking at our sign bylaw, I'm looking at some modifications to it, and this is a timing issue. Is this not something that we could, whatever the mechanism we need to use is through a resolution, permit this while you're going through, for a period of time, while we're going through an amendment or while we're looking at redoing our bylaw?
Through your worship, absolutely. Council has the ability to do that, and again, as it would be on a site-specific basis, it's this property only, and yes, absolutely.
Okay, thanks for saying it, because I'm not hearing anything that is suggesting, I mean, I understand setting a precedent and that if these are popping up all over, but we are looking at our bylaw, and what we're saying is it's inadequate as it is right now. So because it's inadequate, I think we need to look at this for a period of time and permit this. So at the appropriate time, I'll move that we accept this for a period of 1 year. Or until the until the sign bylaw is redone.
That's not a motion, or that is a motion right now? Okay. Seconder? Councillor Bondi. Questions? Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, through your worship. So Heather, if we were to not give them permission to put the sign up at this point in time, how soon before it could be revisited? Are we talking like 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 months, a year? Like, just give us some indication so I can better understand the timing.
Through you, Your Worship, this is a project that we would like to do within the next year. So this is not on, it's not on the books to do within the next month or two. The one thing I would bring up to council is the fact that the Ministry of Transportation has given a permit for basically 2 years. It expires on November 21st of 2015. And should council choose to approve, it may be a good idea to use the same timing as the ministry's permit. Unless you prefer to go a lesser time frame.
Garrett? Councilor Baker, your motion was, again, could I get it?
Yeah, sure. My motion was for a year period of time or until we have the sign bylaw redone. Realizing that the ministry has put it on for 2 years, are we suggesting that we would not be able to have our bylaw revisited and completed within 2 years?
Through Your Worship, our goal is absolutely to have it done in less than 2 years.
Well, that's why I put a year on it. That way, if we have a year, we have the proponent come back and see where we're at with this, because I think they'll be part of it. These signs will be part of something we need to look at. I would still keep it at a year, then we have an ability to look at it at that point in time. So I'm going to keep it that way.
Mr. Phillips?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I think what the planner is indicating also is that there's a public consultation process that has to be undertaken, and that for that to occur properly, we will embark on this in early 2014, but by the time we've assembled the public open houses and the public participation and gained the opinion of public and then bring it back to council, it could take some period of time, a few months, that type of thing. So I think that's the period of time we need. So I certainly feel that it's something that administration can accomplish over the course of 2014, but it is not something we'll get started immediately upon. The other aspect, I just wanted to come back to the reason that administration, or in this case the planner, is recommending not approval. Again, it comes back to council's policy on this, in that the bylaw effectively speaks that they should not, if I'm correct, these type of billboard signs should not be erected on a commercial property in that zoning, in that particular zoning. So it's one of, we would be twisting the law, so to speak, your law, and that's why we're recommending against it. I don't think that it's a hard recommendation from what Heather's indicating. It's just one that if it is to be amended, or that an alternate plan has to be put into place, you council needs to amend that.
So thanks, and that's why, for that reason, I keep it at the year, so that if we're hearing anything from the public, which nobody's come forward at this point in time, so let's look at it for that 1 year. The proponent can come back after that in period of time and ask for an extension on that. So that way we're going to hear if there is any issues out there relative to this sign.
So my question is, with this motion, he's going to be able to erect the sign immediately?
Through you, Your Worship, the applicant will need to get a sign permit from the building department before he can erect the sign. The building department is actually aware of what's being proposed. They're the ones that directed him to us to get the amendment.
Okay. Now, at the end of 1 year, the property hasn't sold, and he still wants that sign up there. Will he be able to come to us again and ask if we haven't got that process finished, and come to us again, and we can extend it to the second year as the MTO has put down?
Yes, Your Worship, absolutely. He can come back to council.
Okay, because I was just prepared to, and I agree with Councilor Baker, but I'd much rather seen it go for the 2 years, same with MTO, but because, we gave it to Valenti, here, put them up, and this is this own person's property, we're almost telling them we can. And I've never gone against administration's recommendations, I don't think, in the past, but this time I was prepared to, as you know, having talked to you, a couple of times, so, thank you. Anything further?
Yeah, through your worship, to the proponent. Good point. The purpose of this sign going up, we haven't really established that.
It's basically Ken Knapp is just trying to sell property he owns behind McDonald's.
So could we put, I guess you wouldn't mind if we put a condition that it's just for the property and nothing else in terms of advertising for other products?
Yeah, he's aware of that because I've actually told him maybe possibly in the future he could sell it as a billboard, and he has no interest in it whatsoever.
Okay, well then, from that point of view, we should maybe protect ourselves and add that to the fact of my motion that it is for the purpose of selling of the lands only.
Because that's the for sale sign that's in the agenda from Greg Barlow,
Correct.
LePage, Royal Page Binder, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly what's on there, and that references that property. All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for the time.
Just get your permit and away you go. Thanks.